Hello. Hello, hello. I am streaming. I am streaming, and we are streaming a special thing today. I have been working on a little something, um, the past, what, month and a half, 2 months, something like that. Um, and I'm really close to finishing it. And we've gotten past all the spoilery lore sections. I've already written all of those. So I figure let's go ahead and write one of the not so lore chapters today. I don't know how long this is gonna go for. Um, Maybe a couple hours, maybe not. But we're gonna stream some writing because we haven't streamed some writing in a little while. So let's stream some writing, and we'll see what happens. What I need to do, I'm doing this on my main monitor, but I have set up my desk to be in front of the couch so that I can write at I can work longer and do stuff on my computer longer. So I need to have this set up so it's on my second monitor because my second monitor is bigger and my screen's now further away from me. So I've had to scooch my main monitor, which is smaller, closer to me, so so that I can actually see it. Because my optic migraines have been very much destroying my eyeballs. But anyway, so what are we doing today? What are we doing? As you can see, we are working on a decked out 2 fanfiction. And this is very exciting because I was having a lot of pain a couple months ago, like about a week of just constant pain and exhaustion. And so what did I do? I spent all day watching Decked Out 2. So I had the idea of writing a story for it. So we're on chapter 7. I've written more than chapter 7. I have 5 chapters left, and there's 20 of them. So now we're going through and writing the runs. And we're writing false running in phase 3. So I have notes for her runs. So we've kind of got a layout of how we're going to write this. She kind of stayed, I can actually check really quick because I have it pulled up. She mostly stayed in level 1, but she went deep into level 1. We're not doing cards. The cards that they we're kind of just writing them as adventurers running through a dungeon. But she had a good amount of cards, which means that she was fairly set up for runs. She had a good sense of the layout of level 1, kind of knew where the Shriekers were, which again, we're not doing the Shriekers, that's a different mechanic. She had 4 treasure cards, but wanted to max it out at 5. So what we're gonna kind of run her as picking up treasure, looking for coins. She died to Vex on her first run, so I think the thought I have is that she's going to die to Vex in this run as well. Because before this, I wrote Grian, and Grian got away from the Vex. I'm not going to tell you if he got out of the dungeon, but he didn't die to Vex. I'll say that. So my thought is, because we haven't had a player, an adventurer die to Vex yet, she's going to die to Vex. That's my thought. She in the runs that I watched her run, at a couple points she mentioned that it's difficult to know where the Ravagers are at, so maybe we could have a moment where she thinks a Ravager's in one place and then she almost runs into one, or does run into one, head on. But she was good at juking the Ravagers, so then she would be able to kind of duck around them. And she hit a lot of shriekers when she was stressed, so my thought is she'll make a lot of noise when she's stressed out. So that's kind of the notes that we have. Hi Zim. I'm good. I'm having a good time. I just got back from the store and I was gonna write and I was like, why not do a stream? How are you doing? I hope you're doing well, Zim. Alright. Should we get into this, guys? You know, actually I have a thought. I could just watch the I could just watch it on OBS. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see which works better for my eyesight. Okay. The doors scrape open. Very well. You're actually starting a D&D campaign based on Decked Out, so this is exciting. Oh, that's awesome. That would be such a good D&D campaign. Just full on dungeon crawling. I love that. Drinking some lemonade. We love lemonade on a hot afternoon. It is insanely hot where I live. Okay, the doors scrape open to reveal the ice caves of the dungeon. Okay, the doors scrape open to reveal the ice caves of the dungeon. False steps onto the platform, looking toward the exit. Steps onto the platform and listens out for any ravagers nearby. There is one who likes to guard the entrance. Waiting for an suspecting adventurer to sneak by. To dash one. We'll do that. Because like obviously you're sneaking at the beginning, but when you're getting to the exit, you're kind of running. Hello, T-dubs. Welcome, welcome. How are you doing? There's one who likes to guard the entrance, waiting for an unsuspecting adventurer to dash by. Its voice rumbles. Its voice rumbles. Oh, that's not. I always get those mixed up. It's not even intentional, it's just same word. Apostrophe in one, not in the other. Its voice rumbles, but False can't tell exactly where it is coming from. Around the corner by the exit, or further down the left corridor. Emanating? Do you like emanating? No, you don't. Grammarly is hard to please. I say this all the time. Grammarly is not easy to please. Sometimes you have to ignore Grammarly. Doesn't really matter when she'll probably run into it either direction she goes. False crouches down to place her palm against the cold stone. And uses it to steady herself. Ready. Jumping down onto the freezing ice. Okay. The doors scrape open to reveal the ice caves of the dungeon. False steps onto the platform and listens out for any ravagers nearby. There is one who likes to guard the entrance, waiting for an unsuspecting adventurer to dash by. Its voice rumbles, but False can't tell exactly where it's coming from. Around the corner by the exit, or further down the left corridor. It doesn't really matter, and she'll probably run into it in either direction she goes. False crouches down to place her palm against the cold stone and uses it to steady herself, jumping down into the freezing ice. Some of the adventurers have begun using the ice in the frozen wastes outside the citadel. They wouldn't know the name of it, probably. Or would they know the name of it? That's a good question. I can't remember. It's been a while since I wrote the beginning chapters. I began using the ice in the frozen wastes outside the citadel to practice running across it, running and leaping across it as practice for the dungeon itself. Most of them have become pretty equipped to handle the icy flooring. Why am I writing 2 instead of V? What is this? The others. Huh. At this point, because it's phase 3, at this point, some of the other adventurers have just noped out of the situation. But we wouldn't really know that. Haven't talked about it at this point. It's been difficult. Well, most of them are still around. Still around to work on conquering the dungeon. Some have left. Some have left. Not everyone is capable of such a fearsome. I'm gonna put this with that chapter. That doesn't need to be its own. Well, it's fan fiction. It can have short chapters. I forget that sometimes, where it's like, with book writing, it's a little different how you set up your paragraphs. It's not very often in book writing that I feel comfortable having like a paragraph be one or two sentences, unless it's dialogue. Sometimes it happens, but a lot of the time you have longer paragraphs, and with fan fictions, it's like, because, well, especially because I have it in this format, you can kind of have it be like one or two sentences for its own chapter. That's just my opinion, obviously. Like, not every book writer sets up their paragraphs in the same way that I do, and not every fan fiction writer sets it up the same way as I do. This is just the way I feel comfortable setting it up. I can have short paragraphs in fan fictions, but I don't do it very often in book writing. Just like some of my fan fiction chapters are very short, but my book chapters are generally 10 pages. Not with Connected, though. Connected was a mistake. I'm gonna fix it, guys. I promise it's going to get fixed. Connected is my next project after the trilogy I'm working on. I have to finish the trilogy I'm working on, and I'm a little over halfway through the second book. So we're getting there. But then those books have to come out. But Connected is on my list, I promise. It's gonna get better. It's gonna be fixed. Anyway, back to this. Not everyone is capable of such a fearsome task. False would be lying if she said she didn't miss some of them. What was the problem with Connected? I'm not an author, so it may not have noticed when reading. Oh, well, okay, so this is obviously my opinion. The chapters were too long. And I say that as, like, when I was editing, it was really hard for me to finish a chapter in a single go. Whereas with your Embers, which obviously you guys don't have the context for yet, with your Embers, they were all roughly 10 pages. And so they were a lot easier to get through, which meant that I wanted to continue reading them. And also with Connected, some of like the grammar was bad. Some of the I didn't like the lore. Well, I liked the lore. I didn't like how I presented it, and it wasn't planned out before I wrote it. So there's a lot of things that don't match up for what I want later on in that trilogy. And it got too big, the lore got too big, and it was just too much for me to handle, which is why I didn't write a second book right after. I had to stop because it was stressing me out too much. The lore that I have planned for it now is significantly smaller and more contained. Some of the sentences were too long. It was just, and I didn't like how it ended. Looking back at it now, I know how I want it to end, and obviously at that point, them dying was how I wanted that book to end. But looking back at it now, I think I have a better idea for it. It's basically the same thing, except it's not. Like, it'll make sense when it's out, but like, I just think with the experience that I have now, with at this point in my life, essentially having written 2 books and then this story that I'm working on now, which I don't consider a book, I think I can do it better. So you could say you're making the lore more connected. Exactly, T-dubs. Exactly. That is exactly it. Can make it all more connected. It'll be great. I love the characters. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the characters, I love the story, I love the world. I can just plan it out better now, and I think I can make it make more sense. Especially for what I have planned for it in the future. I actually have a really, really cool idea. That at this point I don't mind sharing, because it's not necessarily spoiling anything for the individual stories. There are going to be 3 trilogies, not connected. These trilogies are not connected. There's a trilogy for Connected, but there's going to be 3 trilogies with 3 different heroes. And then there's going to be a 4th trilogy where you may notice a character or a couple of characters that show up in different ways throughout these 3 trilogies that comes to more of a main thing in that trilogy, where all of the heroes come together to deal with a big villain that you also may pick up on if you look at the lore and the characters and the mentions of each trilogy. So it'll all come together, and these heroes will all meet, and they'll all go on an adventure. So when these trilogies are done, I'm not necessarily finished with the characters. Which is why I want to go back to Connected, because I have that idea of when this trilogy is done and Ekor has saved the world, his story's not complete. And it'll all come together after the 3rd Heroes trilogy is finished. So I'm really excited for that concept, and I'm really hoping you guys like it, but it is one of those things, you're not gonna expect what's happening unless you look at what characters reoccur, what mentions reoccur, what lore reoccurs. So it really is for somebody that's really invested in the story, and I will, like, obviously if that's not you, do not worry about it. It will all make sense, but you don't have to, like, piece together the puzzle pieces if you don't want to. That's not anything I'm expecting anybody to do. It's just for fun. And it's fun for me, and it's fun for, you know, the people who are invested in it. So essentially there's going to be like 12 books that I already kind of have planned. So I'm not anywhere near done with writing. I'm very committed to this idea at this point in time. Obviously I'm very early into it, but I think it'll be a lot of fun. Okay. Yeah. And during that time, I may take breaks to write fan fictions, such as Decked Out 2, which, don't quote me on this, theoretically, possibly, may start coming out next Saturday. It really depends on if I can get these final 5 chapters done this week. So, give me motivation. I need your energy, because it's hard to write 5 chapters in 5 days. You really have to be writing every day. You have to be writing a chapter every day, and that can be hard to do if you don't have the time or the energy. But I got a brace for my right wrist, so we're gonna do it. We're gonna do our best. And again, there's 20 chapters, so when it starts getting posted, you'll have content every Saturday for 20 weeks. So, we love that. We love that for us. And theoretically, some of the rest of these 5 chapters will be on stream. It just depends on if I have the energy to be talking while I'm writing. Okay. False crouches down to place her palm against the cold stone and uses it to steady herself, jumping down onto the freezing ice. Some of the adventurers have begun using the ice in the frozen wastes outside the citadel to practice running and leaping across it as practice for the dungeon itself. Most of them have become pretty equipped in handling the ice and pretty equipped to handle the icy flooring. While most of them are still around to work on conquering the dungeon, some have left. Not everyone is capable of such a fearsome task. False would be lying if she said she didn't miss some of them. Because we're kind of doing like every hermit is part of this in one way or another. Which is fun. We love that. But obviously, there's only a certain amount of runs that I can write for this in 20 chapters. With lore. It'll be great. You guys are gonna love it. We know that Hawk can't do stories without lore. Okay. Now creeping through the tunnels she knows well. False keeps an ear out for the rumbling growls of the beasts working with him. It's easy to get caught off guard by these creatures. I love not being able to spell, guys. We love being a writer not able to spell. Fun times. It's hard to focus. Especially considering they don't exist outside these walls. Are they beasts of the past? The future? Or simply from the dungeon master's mind? These questions may never be answered. So, for reference, at this point, the last 2 chapters have been in level 1. I've done a lot of explanation and detail of level 1. So, for phase 3, I was kind of looking for somebody to do more like in-depth phase 2 runs, but I genuinely couldn't find anybody except for the people that I'm writing in later chapters. So I think false may be more like internal than external. Like this may be more thoughts and questions than explanation of the dungeon. With running from the Ravagers and potentially the Vex. We'll just see what happens. We'll see what the character. Well, it's always hard because they're real people, but they're in a story, so they're also characters. What the character decides we should do. And I'm aiming for like 3 to 4 pages. These are a lot shorter than these chapters are a lot shorter than Your Embers at My Fingertips chapters were, because this is less of, like I said, it's less of a book and more of like a story. They're not long chapters. Some of them are longer than others. Most of them are pretty short. I think that's fine because I don't need these chapters to be super long. So we're aiming for 3 to 4 pages with this chapter. I just don't want it to be any shorter than that, you know? So we'll aim for that. False. Curves to the right of the tunnels of the... What was the last word I used? The tunnels. Right of the tunnel where a Is this simply for... Is this for decoration? Or does it serve a purpose? In the 3 weeks, they've been investigating this place for its many secrets and treasure. No one has discovered one. Secrets and treasures. Okay. We'll finish this paragraph and then read the last two because I don't think I actually read this. It doesn't even feel warm. Okay. Now creeping through the tunnels she knows well, False keeps an ear out for the rumbling growls of the beasts lurking within. It's easy to get caught off guard by these creatures, especially considering they don't exist outside these walls. Are they beasts of the past, the future, or simply from the dungeon master's mind? These questions may never be answered. False curves to the right of the tunnel, where a small campfire is set up. Is this for decoration, or does it serve a purpose? In the 3 weeks they've been investigating this place for its many secrets and treasures, no one has discovered one. It doesn't even feel warm. Oh, I can finish this. Its corners could potentially allow someone to hide from a ravager. But False has never tried, so she can't be sure it would work. Okay. Its corners could potentially allow someone to hide from a ravager, but False has never tried, so she can't be sure it would work. Okay. The circle room. Growls and huffs echo from the circle room. I've just been calling that space the circle room. I think the hermits called it that too. I don't remember. But I'm just I think it makes sense. There's also it's tricky though because I call the circle room on like the underground area, like under the crypt, the red room, which I think at least one of the hermits called it the red room because yes, it's a circle, but it is also just red. So I'm just kind of doing that because I don't know what else to call that area. And I also don't know if any of the rooms have a name. Okay, growls and echo. Growls and huffs echo from the circle room. False carefully sneaks to the still open doorway and silently keeps her head in, her blonde hair swinging down from her shoulder. A ravager stomps around opposite side. It hasn't noticed her. What? It hasn't noticed her yet. She manages to tiptoe past without it clocking her from, Empire Season 2. Okay, I loved False's lore for Empire Season 2. This is I'm just rambling. I loved her lore. I loved it. It made me so happy. False from Empire Season 2 was so good. I understood that reference. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It made me so happy when she was in Empire Season 2. But it happened with Pearl and it happened with False where they're on Hermitcraft and Empires and they just couldn't do both. So they had to sacrifice one for the other and they both picked Hermitcraft, which is completely fair. Jem is the only one I've seen that's done, like, Jem and Joel are the only one I've seen where they've done, well, Joel was barely on SOS. Essentially, Jem is the only person I have seen who has managed to do 2 SMPs simultaneously and get videos out fairly regularly in both ones. And I don't know how she does it. I have no idea. It's incredible. But I loved False in Empire Season 2 so much. It was the reason I started watching her. Because it was before I watched a million people and lost time for most of them. Get out of here, McAfee. Okay. Some of the other adventurers have discovered hidden barrels. Well, hidden... Okay, here's the question. I haven't actually introduced the eggs in this story yet. I know you guys don't know the lore of this, but it makes me wonder what should be the thing, because we can't really do eggs. Well, maybe we could. I would have to go in and describe something in another place. I could do that. I can add that to that chapter. Hidden photos of each adventurer sitting atop a resource from their homeland. Okay, that's what was False's, actually? Well, I don't know if that would have been found yet. I don't remember the order of which ones were found. I didn't watch everybody. And it was, okay, so I was watching Tango streams for the most part. So, and Pearl's videos. So, like, I saw what eggs Pearl found, but I don't remember when they were found. And I've only seen up to halfway through phase 3 of Tango's VODs. I'm not, like, I haven't had the time to watch everybody because life. So I don't remember which order the eggs were found. So I can't do an example unless I just I'm gonna make a disclaimer that this story is not going to be the same as Decked Out 2 exactly. Like, I'm not, there's only one chapter where I'm trying to make it as correct to the actual um to the actual run as possible. And if you know, you know, but if you don't know, then you'll find out. Because some people might be able to just know, but we'll see. But most of it is just going to be like my own, just honestly kind of like what happened with Numbers at My Fingertips, where like we got to a certain point where I wasn't writing it to canon anymore. It was just whatever I wanted. You know, after Jimmy kind of, spoilers, after Jimmy kind of like unlocked an element, basically at the point where Scar and Grian die to Rancher's revenge. After that, it was not canon anymore. So it's kind of that kind of situation. It's just like, this is not going to be canon to what actually happened in Decked Out 2, and you're just gonna have to be okay with that. So I could do one of those things. Those VODs were so long. You try to keep up at the time until there was more videos coming out than time of the day. Yeah, it was hard keeping up with everybody. I think I mainly watched Pearl and Etho. I don't think I watched videos, like I watched Scars and Grian's, but yeah, the videos were very long, and there was just not time to watch all of them. What quote unquote helped me keep up with the VODs for a certain amount of time was around the time that Decked Out was coming out, my fibromyalgia flared. And I had no treatment for it, and I had no medication for it. So I was in constant pain all the time. So I couldn't really do anything else. So I was watching a lot of Tango's VODs, like Tango's streams, because I couldn't do anything else. So that's how I kept up with them for a good amount of time until I got medication and I started doing things again and I started writing. But yeah, it was really hard to keep up with all of it because there were so many hermits playing, and Tango was watching people's streams, like watching people's runs and streaming it and then uploading it. So there really was just like so much content that it was overwhelming. That's why I've basically been like, I watched Pearls and I watched some of Etho's, but Etho plays in a very different way than I would play. So I don't really enjoy watching his videos all that much. And so I decided to watch Tango's VODs, but he was streaming like every day. There's so many VODs that I've been watching for like the entire time since before I started writing this story. And I'm only in the middle of phase 3. But I'm more busy than I was then, so. Which is good. It means I'm feeling better. I've also been doing physical therapy, so my endurance is getting better, and we love that for me. Okay, Growls and huffs echo from the circle room. False carefully sneaks to the still open doorway and silently peeks her head in, her blonde hair swinging down from her shoulder. A ravager stomps around on the opposite side. It hasn't noticed her yet. She manages to tiptoe past without it clocking her. Some of the other adventurers have discovered hidden photos of all of them sitting atop a resource from their homeland. muting to cough. We love that. Also, I haven't mentioned this yet. I have a fan on because it's like 90 degrees Fahrenheit here. Which if you don't know, Fahrenheit is really hot. So I have a fan on and it's pointed at me. So I'm really sorry if you can kind of hear it, because it is just kind of going off on the OBS bar. But I don't have another option. I have to have it on or I will boil. So I hope that doesn't bother you. Nobody's mentioned it yet, so I'm assuming it's fine. Only a few have been found, but from what the small room upstairs says, finding all of them is the only way. Whoa! The only way to unlock the final level. Okay, is the final level. What was it called? The Burning Book. Takes a second to remember the actual names for the levels. False isn't very concerned with finding those hidden areas, as she's more interested in making it out with an artifact or a bundle of coins. So the other thing with this story compared to how Decked Out actually was, there's only a limited number of magical artifacts in the dungeon. It's not like the canon Decked Out where they have a compass, they go in, get an artifact, get out. They can make it out with just coins. They don't need an artifact to get out. It's more about, if you want the artifact, you have to find it, and it kind of resets to where it was before if you don't make it out with it, just so like you can't die at the entrance and then the artifact is just sitting at the entrance when the next person comes in. That's not how it works. I've only written one person getting out with an artifact. And obviously other people will get out with the artifacts. Maybe False will. Maybe we have False get out with an artifact. So been having a lot of people die. But again, because there's only a limited number of artifacts, it is kind of hard to get out with them. But if all she's doing is staying on level 1, then it would make sense. You know, if she knows it well and can find an artifact, it makes sense that she'd be able to get out even with like Ravagers and Vex chasing after her, right? Because she knows where the dungeon might collapse by the end of the run and how to avoid that, you know? So maybe we have False get out with an artifact. We could do that. Speaking of an artifact, False overheard two of the others talking about. She overheard Scar, because Scar would be someone to advertise this. Scar telling Brian And of course, he would tell it to Grian. That tracks. That makes sense. We can all agree that that makes sense. Speaking of an artifact, False overheard Scar telling Grian where one was resting in. Still can't believe he got third. I know. I think I have this clip saved. This is not about a run specifically, but I have this clip saved on TikTok where it's Scar telling Etho that he got into level 2 and got out, and Etho's just like, "Wow, Scar, very impressive," and then he joins the group with Tango, and he goes in to the starting room, and he's like, "Tango, just between you and me, did he really get out of level 2? Like it's a closed group." And then Tango's like, "I'm pretty sure he can hear you." And Etho turns around and Scar's right in his face. I love that clip so much. It's so good. Scar was surprisingly good at Decked Out. I don't know how. I think it was more that he just bought a lot of tomes instead of cards, and that's how he did it. I'm trying to remember, what was his deck? What did his deck look like? Because he didn't really make videos on it. He probably streamed it, but he's bad at uploading VODs. But I remember Tango looked at I think Tango looked at the decks of all of the mentors on that stream where the 6 non-hermits were playing. I can't remember how many cards he had. I think it was a fair amount. I think he just played a lot. But it is surprising that he was so good at it. I didn't watch any of his streams, so I don't know how he did with buying cards and buying tomes. I know that Grian, Impulse, and B-Dubs didn't play too much after the first couple weeks. I did not know that Doc played as much as he did. Like when he was mentoring H, he had a lot of cards, and I was surprised by that because, well, to be fair, I didn't watch his videos, so I assume lots of screaming was involved. Oh, absolutely. 100%. Scar probably lost his voice several times. I never played Decked Out 2. I was going to, but I never did. Do you guys think that would be a fun stream? I think that could be fun. Playing Decked Out 2 for the first time. Maybe we do that after the first chapter's out. We post, after we post the first chapter of this story, we play Decked Out 2. That could be fun. I have to download the world and figure out how to set that up, but that could be fun. That'd be fun. Yeah. I can do that. I'll do that the first stream after the first chapter of this story comes out. That'll be fun. Also, I've been playing a lot of Stardew. Do you think Stardew streams could be fun? I've been playing a world, and I'm already in summer, but I honestly don't really want to start over. So it'd be like, hey guys, I've been playing for the past month. You wanna jump in on this world? I've also been playing a world with my dad. We're like halfway through spring, and he's fun to play with. To be honest, streaming anything is fine. Yeah. I like to do a bunch of stuff, because I feel like writing is fun to do on stream, but it doesn't bring in a lot of new viewers. The most new viewers that I get on streams is when I play Minecraft, like when I play gaming. And Stardew and Minecraft are kind of one of those like timeless games, I think, where they're both just kind of like really chill and fun to play whenever. Um, so yeah, we'll see what happens. I wouldn't turn my Stardew World into like a streaming only world. It would be like periodically we just jump into a stream on. It's like, hey, look at where I'm at now. Let's have fun. That's kind of what I do with Minecraft too. It's just like, hey, I've been doing stuff. Here we go. Coming on. Yeah. Moving along. What are we doing today? And I do that with writing. That's just what I do. I just always do that. We're just gonna jump in on what I've been working on off camera. Resting in. Oh, what was it? It was the middle tunnel. Resting in the middle tunnel. Oh my gosh, I can't see. It's great. We're having fun. The middle tunnel of the TNT. What artifact? That would be Deathloop, because he gets Deathloop a lot. We'll do that. She's gonna get Deathloop. She can't get her own artifact because that's in level 2. We're only on page 1. Right. So I need to have her have a little bit of trouble. Oh, you know what would be fun is if she's forced down into the red room and has to come up that way. That would take longer than just going into. Yeah, we'll do that. Gotta take a detour. That'll take more time. Trying to draw this out so we can get to page 3. Also, she could have trouble getting out as well. Forced into the crypt or something and has to go, or decides to go treasure hunting, goes up into the crypt to see if she can find treasure, and then has to go out through the ice tunnels. We need to do something like that. Just trying to make it less of a in and out situation. Got to make it more dramatic. She should. Oh, we can even have her think. She should be able to do this pretty quick. To that very painlessly. I do, to be fair, I do want to work on. Oh, that one's old. I need to check. That one, that command will get changed to this one once this is up. Oh my gosh, Remembers at My Fingertips feels like a lifetime ago. Does it feel like that for anybody else? It's just a lifetime ago. You should be able to grab that fairly painlessly. Hey, Shadow. Shadow sleepy. We went to the store today. Okay, she should be able to grab that fairly painlessly. Heading deeper into the dungeon. Friendship ended with Yam. Your Embers is your new best friend. Oh, I'm glad. I can't wait for Your Embers to come out and to be able to share that with you guys. Katie and I are going to hopefully work on the cover this summer. So once the cover's done and I do a couple more edits with a couple people, it'll be ready to go. And then we're going to put it on a pre-order, and then it'll come out. So timeline is kind of end of this year, early next year. That's kind of what we're thinking. It'll be great. It's gonna be so much fun. I love this book. And if you like Yamp, you're gonna love your Embers. That's all I'll say about that. Heading deeper into the dungeon. Okay, we'll not do that. The pool of water at the center of the pool of at the pool of water at the center of the dip. I don't know how to describe that other than the dip. The dip outside the circle room is still somehow unfrozen. You'd think with how perpetually cold this entire place is, ice would be coating every bit of liquid. But magic runs this place. Magic that none of them can conceive. Okay. Some of the adventurers have discovered hidden photos of all of them of one of them sitting atop a resource from their homeland. Only a few have been found, but with what the small room upstairs says, finding all of them is the only way to unlock the final level, the Burning Dark. False isn't very concerned with finding these hidden areas, as she's more interested in making it out with an artifact or a bundle of coins. Speaking of an artifact, False overheard Scar telling Grian where one was, resting in the middle tunnel of the TNT room. She should be able to grab that fairly painlessly. The pool of water at the center of the dip outside the circle room is still somehow unfrozen. With how perpetually cold this entire place is, ice should be overcoating every bit of liquid, but magic runs this place, magic that none of them can conceive. Okay. We have completed one page. We have done it. We have done it. One page. Okay. We come down here now. As false steps Should we have the Ravager from the circle room see her now that she is closer to it? As false steps, as false dashes across the one of the other entrances into the circle room, the Ravager within the Ravager's head snaps in her. Oh, I know. Her foot steps on a what would it be? Frozen rock of ice. It cracks and scatters about. False freezes. In that half a second hesitation, the Ravager's head snaps in her direction. Its eyes locking directly on her. Her heart races in a gallop as the beast charges at her, its head lowered in preparation to spear her with its horns. Okay. As False dashes across one of the other entrances into the circle room, her foot steps on a frozen rock of ice. It cracks and scatters about. False freezes. In that half-a-second hesitation, the Ravager's head snaps in her direction, its eyes locking directly on her. Her heart races in a gallop as the beast charges at her, its head lowered in preparation to spear her with its horns. Oh no. Hydration. Everybody hydrate. Extending legs so I don't get stuck in this position. Okay. False's legs carry her toward the River of Souls before she can even process what's happening. Whoa. Nope, we need two P's, not two N's. False's legs carry her toward the River of Souls before she can even process what's happening. The Ravager chases behind her. Eyes narrowed in rage. She has to get to the TNT room. This Ravager can't enter that area. False leaps over the bubbling water, landing firmly on the other side. I love how much faster I can write when it's an intense moment compared to when they're just casually doing stuff. It's so funny. That's how I wrote your embers so quickly. God, it's just wait. It's gonna be great. Your embers is a whole other thing. Okay. 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 False's legs carry. I think I've already read this. False's legs carry her her toward the River of Souls before she can even process what's happening. The Ravager chases behind her, eyes narrowed in rage. She has to get to the TNT room. This Ravager can't enter that area. False leaps over the bubbling water, landing firmly on the other side. As she darts toward the perceived safety of the TNT room. The Ravager guarding that area whirls around and stomps angrily to block the entrance. False's eyes widen. What does she do now? In a what would it be? A flight or fight reaction. She spins around and jumps across the river once again, right as the first Ravager would have slammed into her. She rolls onto the snow and uses the mushroom to pull herself to her feet before leaping again, and once more until she can dart into the crypt and down into the red room. Wow. I like this part. I like this part. We we like this part. We like this part because it's intense and it's easy to write. The Ravager. Oh, the Ravager snarls and sprints after her. Ravager snarls and sprints after her, but as soon as she rounds the corner of the stairwell, it loses interest. It can't see her anymore. False. Dashes into the red room, scanning it for another sign of danger. But there is none. She breathes a sigh of relief, begging her screaming heart to calm down. As her back presses against the cool stone wall, she slides to the floor. To rest for a moment. Just a moment. Okay. That was fun. Obviously, I'll edit this because when I write quickly, there are often lots of mistakes. Okay. Falsa's eyes widen. What does she do now? In a fight-or-flight reaction, she spins around and jumps across the river once again, right as the first Ravager would have slammed into her. She rolls onto the snow and uses the mushroom to pull herself to her feet, before leaping again, and once more, until she can dart into the crypt and down into the red room. The Ravager snarls and sprints after her, but as soon as she rounds the corner into the stairwell, it loses interest. It can't see her anymore. False dashes into the red room, scanning it for another sign of danger, but there is none. She breathes a sigh of relief, begging her screaming heart to calm down. As her back presses against the cool stone wall, she slides to the floor for a moment. Just a moment. I like that. That was fun. I love writing scenes like that. You can ask my Oma. When I'm writing, I so often get stuck on the slow moments. Like when it's a slow moment and they're just like sitting there. Like obviously it might be something of importance, they're talking about a battle plan or something like that. It's so difficult, or like when they're just winding down from a fight, or like there are moments like that in Your Embers where they've just encountered something and now they're calming down. Those are so hard for me to write. You can, like, I will call my Oma during those moments and be like, Oma, I'm stuck. And she's like, okay, what's going on? And I explain it to her and she's like, okay. And then I just come up with the idea. Well, she doesn't have to do anything, but she knows how difficult slower moments are for me, because I will just speed through battles. I will just speed through fights and encounters and all of that just fine. But as soon as I get to a moment where all they're doing is resting or talking, it's so hard. I don't know why. It just is. I love encounters. I love high intensity situations. They're just so much easier to write. Which is why these runs are not very difficult for me to write as long as I'm interested in them, because they're they're fairly high intensity the entire time, because they're exploring a dungeon. It's a dungeon crawl. That's what Decked Out is. It's a dungeon crawling game. Um, so it's just fun. I enjoy it. But that added like half a page. So as long as we have moments like that where we have high intensity situations where I have to do something to get her out alive, and I do it in detail, we'll have enough for 3 pages. Because we're on the second page, so now we just need to get another half page and then another page. Whoop, sorry. This may not be an entire half page, but you get the point. So I think we can do that. I think that'll be fine. And honestly, we'll try to we'll probably be able to do the entire chapter on this stream. Also, something fun that I'm planning on, the people that are subscribed to my Patreon at probably level 2 and level 3 will get, when I start posting them, they will get these chapters 2 days before anybody else. Both chapters in their entirety, like, they will both be posted, like, okay, all chapters in their entirety will be posted on both AO3 and Patreon. But the plus is that people on Patreon get the chapters 2 days before people on AO3. So it's just a little extra thing if you want to read them sooner. And then obviously I've got other stuff on Patreon. You get writing blogs with my, suggestions and my process and all of that. Just the way I handle things when it comes to writing. And backstory chapters for my characters in Your Embers, and a monthly stream, a monthly sneak peek from Your Embers, and what else is there? Character TikToks for characters from Your Embers. There's just a bunch of cool stuff that you can get on Patreon, and a couple things are posted every week. A couple things are posted once a month, and it's just fun. We have fun there, so if that's something you're interested in, it's the same username as basically everywhere else. It's Hawkwing03. So if that's something you're interested in, I would appreciate the support, but no pressure. Okay. Well, the red room is nicely decorated with an air of distinctive magic. That's, wow, that was spelled so poorly. How did that happen? Books line the walls. Wow, that's not right. Amethysts, I knew there was a Y in there somewhere. Amethyst sit on desks, on desks, a table, a round table with chairs all around, covers the middle of the room, and a wardrobe with a secret stairway into the tunnels of the oh my goodness, the TNT room is pressed against the wall. What's particularly special about this room? What's particularly special about this specific room is the jump into a alcove where someone can retrieve a key. For those who have little luck. For those who have little luck, for those who have little luck finding the golden keys along the ground, that could be very helpful. But nothing in this room will help us. Bye, T-Dubs. Thank you for coming by and hanging out. Hope you have a good day. The red room is nicely decorated with an air of distinctive magic. Books line the walls. Amethyst sits on desks. A round table with chairs covers the room. A circle table with chairs all around covers the middle of the room, and a wardrobe with a secret stairway leading into the tunnels of the TNT room is pressed against the wall. What's particularly special about this specific room is the jump into an alcove where someone can retrieve a key. For those who have little luck finding the golden keys along the ground, that could be very helpful. But nothing in this room will help False. The thing she seeks is up through the hidden stairs. False walks across the stone floor and pulls the red door of the wardrobe open. The Ravager of the TNT room was previously at the entrance previously far away from where she will come out. With luck, with luck. It's still nearby and is still there. And false. She will be able to sneak in and snatch the artifact before it notices her presence. Okay. Oh boy. Okay. So now we just gotta get her to get the artifact and out. And I think we'll be able to do that in another page and a quarter. Or page and a third. Well, we're not stopping at page 3, or we're not stopping with the end of page 3 necessarily. We just need to get to page 3. You know what I mean? It would be nice to get to page 3 at least. False's footsteps echo through the tiny stairwell. Causing her to worry the Ravager will hear them. But as she pokes her head into the snowy room above, no beast is in sight. She slowly sneaks. She slowly sneaks out and glances all around her. No danger. This gives her the opportunity to head toward the middle tunnel where Scar said an artifact lies. As she ventures forth, listening out for any sign of the Ravager, she notices a golden totem of some kind half buried in the snow. Scar must have been attempting to unearth it when he died. False kneels down and picks up the artifact, brushing the snow from its smooth surface. What does this thing do? What does this thing do? She wonders to herself. The familiar growl of a gray beast. Calls her attention to its growing proximity. False. She slips the totem into her pocket and walks back to the stairs leading into the red room. She's with where the Ravagers previously were. She doesn't expect this trip back to be pleasant. Because her mission was the artifact, she hasn't found as much treasure as she hasn't spotted as much treasure as she normally would. But she's fine with that. This treasure, this reward is far better than any coin could be. Okay. The familiar growl of a gray beast calls False's attention. Whoop. Home keys. Calls False's attention to its growing proximity. She slips. Oh wait, I haven't read this one. As False ventures forth, listening out for any sign of the Ravager, she notices a golden totem of some kind, half buried in the snow. Scar must have been attempting to unearth it when he died. False kneels down and picks up the artifact, brushing the snow from its smooth surface. What does this thing do? She wonders to herself. The familiar growl of a gray beast calls False's attention to its growing proximity. She slips the totem into her pocket and walks back to the stairs. To the stairs leading into the red room. With where the Ravagers previously were, she doesn't expect this trip back to be pleasant. Because her mission was the artifact, she hasn't spotted as much treasure as she normally would, but she's fine with that. This reward is far better than any coin could be. The red room is still empty, and she pushes the door open once more oh my goodness, when False. We're having a hard time with buttons today. False pushes the door open once more. However, the Ravager who chased her in from the circle room is certainly With any luck, she'll be able to avoid it by rushing through the stone tunnel into the ice corridors, avoiding the Ravager. Avoiding having to jump across the river again. Creeping back up the stairs into the crypt. No Ravager is in sight. It must be at the River of Souls. False. I think we'll finish this chapter on stream today. That's always fun. It's always fun to actually finish a story on stream. We don't usually do that. False keeps her ears out. She hears a growl, but she can't tell exactly where it's coming from. It could be from above her. Could be from above her somewhere in the crypt. But maybe it's in front of her in the river. No, we're not going to do that. From before her, coming from somewhere in the river. With her hand resting atop the totem, barely sticking out of her pocket, False sprints into the snowy room and just as the Ravager spins around from its position next to the blue mushroom, darts through the stone, shortcut into the ice tunnels. The Ravager stays stuck in the river room, growling with frustration. Okay. Creeping back up the stairs into the crypt with no Ravager is in sight. It must be at the River of Souls. False keeps her ears out. She hears a growl from before her, coming from somewhere in the river. With her hand resting atop the totem sticking out of her pocket, False sprints into the snowy room, and just as the Ravager spins around from its position next to the blue mushroom, darts through the stone shortcut and into the ice tunnels. The Ravager stays stuck in the river room, growling with frustration. False exhales sharply, but wastes no time. At this point, the threat of Vex is growing higher and higher with each passing moment. She has to get out now. Falls exhales sharply, but wastes no time. At this point, the threat of Vex is growing higher and higher with each passing moment. She has to get out now. Okay, yeah, we're at a good. Yeah, we should try to get to the end of this page, but honestly, we're at a fairly good because we're still in level 1, and I've done 2 chapters before this where we've been in level 1. So, I think we'll probably get to the end of this page, and that's what we want. We want to get to around 3 pages. False speeds into the dip room with the dip. Sprinting around it at top speed. But it isn't enough to stop the Vex from flying out of the walls, screeching angrily. Their swords slash at False's skin, slash at False, some landing and others not. Blood rushes down her pale skin, but it isn't enough to stop her. She spins around to punch one of the evil fairies. It shrieks and flies forward at her. False knows this level like the back of her hand. Most of them do at this point. Only those who have left would not. Left or didn't show up would not. The Vex follow for a time before losing interest, like the Ravagers do in their zones. Do they have do the Vex have zones too? Vex. Yeah. It isn't worth it to stick around and explore that possibility. She has to leave before she dies and loses this artifact. As she sprints through the tunnels back to the exit, the Vex follow her at lightning speed. She's as... I love how Grammarly thinks the Vex is singular. She's faster than them. Only barely. Yeah. I may have to go in and add some stuff because we're at the point where it's like we're close to 3 pages, but I actually don't think we're going to make it to 3 pages. Or maybe we just don't care. It's a good chapter regardless. I think it's fine. So, like, you know, like I said, some of the chapters are going to be shorter than others, some of them are going to be longer than others, and that's fine. I'm not counting this as a book, this is just something I'm doing for fun. I'm not super worried about it being a certain length. I just want it to be around 3 to 4 pages, you know? But if we've done everything we need to do with this chapter, why do we need to add more? You know what I mean? As she approaches the dark, glowing doors slide open, and she darts through them, listening, not listening to them close before falling down the hole. She lands perfectly well, perfectly safe at the bottom, and pulls the button. She reappears in the starting room, perfectly safe, and with a special artifact resting in her pocket. Okay. False knows this level like the back of her hand. Most do at this point. Only those who have left or didn't show up would not. The Vex follow for a time before losing interest like the Ravagers do in their zones. Do the Vex have zones too? It isn't worth it to stick around and explore that possibility. She has to leave before she dies and loses this artifact. As Fall sprints through the tunnels back to the exit, the Vex follow her at lightning speed. She's faster than them, only barely. As she approaches, the dark glowing doors slide open and she darts through them, not listening to them close before falling down the hole. She reappears in the starting room, perfectly safe, and with a special artifact resting in her pocket. Okay, so we got almost 3 pages. I think that's pretty good. I'll do some editing by myself and then add it to the actual document. And then we've only got 4 chapters left. So I'm going to try to get those 4 chapters done this week and then edit next week. And hopefully, theoretically, maybe, the first chapter will be posted next Saturday. But the first chapter will actually be posted on the Thursday before the first chapter gets posted on Saturday. So if you're on Patreon, you get the chapters 2 days early, but the entire chapters, the entire chapter and the entire story will still be posted on AO3. So you will not miss anything if you only read it on AO3. Well, thank you to everyone who came and hung out, and whether you're watching the VOD or the live stream. This will get uploaded to YouTube tomorrow, so if you didn't get to watch it on Twitch, then it'll be there. Same with all of my VODs. Thank you guys for coming, and I hope to see you when this comes out, but there will probably be a stream before that. We may work on this again. Okay. Thank you for coming. I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.